we were last here together, but not talking just 2 years ago. But my strongest memory is from 22 years ago, when I think it was festival #1.
Yes,
and it's just wonderful to see, to see you back. What makes Bantry so special for you?
I think, apart from the place, it is the passion and this incredible density of great music making, great music, and lots of different kinds of artists, different kinds of ages, from very young to very experienced. And I think it's that incredible kaleidoscope of cultural offering that the Bantry Chamber Music Festival, the West Coast Chamber, gives to people. I think it's a fantastic treasure.
And I was involved in the very first festival, and it sounded in those days like a wonderful but incredibly mad and almost impossible idea. And now, 22 years later, I live in Germany now, and in Germany it's become, well, musicians who've been here very often say it's one of the best, if not the best, chamber music festival in Europe. How come here in the west of Ireland this sort of stuff, this can happen?
I think it's a prerequisite of successful festivals that they look a bit mad in the first year. I think someone said to me that a festival you only know if a festival is going to work if they can survive 5 years, and then you're okay. Right. So this is 22 years, so that's 4 times successful. I think it's the place, it's Francis Humphreys, it's the musicians. Ireland is a very special place, and this is a very special part of the country. And I think it's incredible beauty, scenic beauty, but also it's almost a little bit too far away from Dublin and all the major centres that gives it even more of an aura. And you think it's in the middle of, no, it's not in the middle of nowhere, of course not, but it's got that feeling that it's very far apart, and suddenly there's this incredible flower that has bloomed every June and July, and I think people love that, the fact that it's so unique.
I think the idea of getting away from the sort of the hullabaloo of the normal and coming to Bantry and finding not that you're in the middle of nowhere, but you're actually in the middle of the hub of excellent music making for 8 days and 5 concerts a day if you've got the stamina.
Yeah. I think it's also the backdrop of what Bantry is and West Cork, and all the different historical references, whether it's the French trying to land in Bantry Bay, or it's the incredible cultural, with our poets and artists, and Maureen O'Hara used to live just down the road, and it's an incredible place for attracting interesting people, and I think that's why. One of the reasons why I think the festival is so well placed to be here in Bantry.
All right, yes, I don't make that link. And the audience, how do you feel about the audiences when do you have any? Is there a Bantry audience as opposed to a Belfast audience or a Sligo audience?
I have to be honest, I don't know, because it was 22 years ago when I started, and then I only played 2 concerts here two years ago. So yes, the audience that I had for those concerts 2 years ago and 22 years ago were wonderful. They were attentive, they were passionate, they were enthusiastic. I'm sure there has to be a Bantry audience, because there are so many concerts. And I think most of them, if not all, are sold out. I think that's an incredible achievement. So I'm sure there is a Bantry audience. If I'd done more, I would be able to sense it more. But the audiences I've had in the few times I've been here have been wonderful.
The only question I've thought about for you is that 2 years ago, you wouldn't have known this, but my son gave you a lift in our car at some point. And because of the festival last year, you'd sort of nipped out for a couple of days for another job on at the other end of Europe, in Moscow. And I think when Nico, my son, told me that, I've just had Barry in the car and he's back from, did you realise he'd gone off to Moscow and he's back? that is, for me, you know, on the one hand there's Bantry, and then on the other hand there's Moscow, and yeah, Moscow is in between the brackets of Bantry. Can you tell us a bit how, what does that mean to you to find yourself in this position where in 1 minute you've got the magic of Bantry House and the remoteness, and then suddenly for a couple of days you're right in the middle of the Moscow piano competition, and then you're back out again.
It was hair-raising, the travel. I didn't sleep much for that period. I was Valery Gergiev, the conductor, who's the artistic director of the Tchaikovsky Festival, the competition now. He asked me way back in 2011 to be on the jury, and I did that, and it was a great experience. I normally never go on juries. I found them very strange because usually the people I want to get through don't get through. So, but then he asked me again. I said, look, Valery, I did that. I'm not sure if I'll come back. And then he asked me for 2015, but I already had my calendar sorted, you know, for my concerts. Yeah. And I said, well, I can't do the whole thing. He said, just come for what you can, and we'll get you to the airport. We'll make sure your flights are lovely, and everything's going to be great. So I did a week in Moscow, and then I came here for one concert. Then I went back to do the finals. Then I came back to do the end of the festival here. Right. So that's how that kind of mad thing happened. But it's not something that you want to do all the time.
No, I agree. But it's the madness of it, in a sense, for me, that makes Bantry that much more fascinating. That in and around Bantry, this kind of thing can happen. That, you know,
well, it only happens if you have someone like Francis who's very understanding. And indeed this year he's been very understanding because it was my daughter's graduation a few days ago, and the university didn't tell us until the last minute. So Francis and we made a gamble that I won't come for the first part, I'll come for the second part of the festival. And it paid off because she graduated 2 days ago, and then I immediately got in the car and drove here. So I have to say that France has been very helpful, accommodating my quirky behaviour.
Yeah, that's great. And you come from basically the opposite end of the island.
I was born in Belfast.
Yeah, sort of northeast, and here we are in the southwest. As you were growing up, what did the southwest of Ireland mean to you?
Oh, a lot, because all my cousins are here, and my mother was from Sligo.
Ah, right.
So I'm half from the west of Ireland and half from Belfast. But you know, I know the west of Ireland quite well, especially Galway and Sligo and Donegal a little bit. Cork, not so much. I come a lot to Cork City. I work a lot at the Cork School of Music. I make all my Schubert recordings at the Cork School of Music. So I'm a lot in Cork City, but regrettably not much in West Cork.
Yeah, because regrettably, because there is really so much. You're mentioning all the culture of the poets and just this kind of spectacular scenery, which even the clouds can't hide.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. And what's next on your agenda after Bantry? Where are you?
I'm going to China for a week next week.
Wow.
There's a fantastic new piano festival there. Then I'm playing in England, and then I go to the Verbier Festival in Switzerland. And then my orchestra Camerata Ireland are playing in the south of France. And I'm going to try and squeeze a 1 week holiday in the south of France.